Hi, my name is Cindy Tracy. I'm the president and founder of World of Reading in Atlanta, Georgia. Just over 30 years ago, I decided to start this company in order to be a resource for parents as well as teachers for foreign language and ESL products. Today, we have over 100 languages. We have a lot more than just reading books. When I started, we've got games, audio CDs, DVDs, t-shirts, interactive software, and realia such as lanyards. That's kind of it in a nutshell. We're an overall distributor for publishers worldwide. Today I want to talk to you about games. Why games are important, whether you're a foreign language or ESL teacher, whether you're elementary or a college professor, beginning level, or advanced. You may be thinking, I don't have time. We're in a pandemic, or we've just been in a pandemic, depending on when you see this, and I've got to catch up on actual work. To me, you should always make time for games. It may be just once a week, but you've got to remember to make it fun and interesting and hold your students' interest. Whether you're teaching grammar or vocabulary or culture, there's probably a game already out there that you can use. Students are entertained by, Facebook, by TikTok, by Instagram. And so you're competing with that in terms of keeping them challenged, keeping them engaged. A game isn't just a passive lecture. It, by its nature, is interactive. You might have to get creative if you're still teaching remotely in terms of, holding up a card and having students take turns answering or who can answer it first. You may have to play it a little bit differently, and not all can be adapted to remote learning, but most can. Games can allow students to be more creative, more independent. Games can teach them teamwork and cooperation. There are a lot of intrinsic benefits from using a game in the classroom. It's important to make sure that they know the rules of the game, that they know exactly how to play what's expected of them. It's important to choose the game that's not going to be so simple that they're bored or so hard that they can't figure it out and they're frustrated and stressed. Make sure that they have the materials they need to play and have enough time to do so. Games are a welcome break from the normal routine. They can be used as a reward. If we get through this, or if you do well on your test, then we're going to play a game for 15 minutes. What I want to do is what I would normally do at a conference, explain how these games work, just briefly, so that you know, oh, that would be helpful to me, or that's not the kind of game I was looking for. The handout that you'll get at the end of this has just, a brief recap of some of the benefits of a game. And then what I did, similar to my website, on our website, wr.com, we have them divided by language. Then under each language in books and games, you see the games, and I put them in order of difficulty. On the handout, just to make it simpler and so it wasn't 10 pages, the languages are all jumbled together, but they are in order of difficulty. So A1, which is the European way of saying, first year students, A2, which would be second year, and then B1 third year. Now that's generally, some students may be in their second year, but depending on how often y'all get to meet, they may still be A1 students. So that's really for you to decide, but just so you know how we've divided them. I also divided them in terms of bingo games, card games, domino games, and board games. Not everyone will fit one of these categories, but most will, in terms of just showing the different types of games. And, most bingo games are played pretty much the same. Card and board games can vary quite a bit, but domino and bingo are pretty much the same. The first game I want to mention that kind of spans a variety of levels is Bananagrams. We have bananagrams in French, Spanish, German, English, Norwegian, and Hebrew and Italian. It's similar to Scrabble. Think of Scrabble without an actual board. Instead, what you've got are a bag, cutely look like a banana, that unzips and you see all the tiles. Two things I want to say that are not in the directions, and I don't think are on our website in terms of the normal directions. First of all, if you've got the funds and you're teaching in a classroom and want to get several sets and have teams compete who can create the most words, what I suggest you do before the students get a hold of them, take a Sharpie and on the back of every tile of the first set, write 1 and then 2, 3, 4, etc. So if the students try to mix up the tiles, you can separate them and have complete sets. The second piece of advice that a teacher told me a few years ago is when they're finished, before they put it away, take out your camera and take a picture and have them do the same, so that their homework is to write a story using all the words. If they put all the words in the game, then they should know what it means and can use that to do a homework assignment. The other game I wanted to mention before I get into all these games behind me, the Ellie games, is Newmigos. Newmigos is from a publisher I found in Europe, and right now just in English and Spanish, but this is the board game. What's cool about it is there are 3 levels of difficulty, the yellow, orange, and red. You might be able to see the different topics, but the idea is whether you're a first-year student or a third-year student, whether you're an English speaker learning Spanish or a Spanish speaker learning English, you can play together, and that's the idea of Newmigos. And the last one that's not by Ellie, all of these board games, is Verba. Verba is a card game in French, Spanish, German, Latin, and English. No, not German. French, Spanish, Chinese, Latin, and English. And briefly, every student gets 5 cards. They're different objects. Then you pick a sentence card with 1 word missing. Who has the card that can best fill in the blank for the sentence to make sense? Students will take turns being the judge on each round. They decide who wins that round, and that person gets all the cards, and whoever has the most cards at the end wins. Very simple. What I like is there are so many cards, the teacher can decide, okay, these are too hard. I'm not going to put them in because we haven't covered that yet. In other words, you can decide what vocabulary would be suitable. Okay, now, basically I'm going to spend some time explaining how these games work. Level A1 bingo games. The bingo games are pretty simple. Like Haz la maleta or Faisons les courses to teach clothing. So you've got the pictures on one side, the actual names on the back, and then you've got the cards as well as the individual cards that are picked. There are a number of bingo games. Le Monde Animal teaches animals. Bingo de los Verbos teaches verbs. Faisons les courses, vamos al mercado teaches food. And basically on the handout, you'll see them in each language. Even playing with numbers in Chinese. Then the domino games, there aren't that many that are easy. Dominos de las horas, for telling time, and the bananagrams that I mentioned before. Card games for beginning students, the bingo, not bingo, we just did bingo. The bis, which are pictures on one side, words on the other, very simple. Think of them like vocabulary flashcards. And of course the verba that you could play with very beginning vocabulary. In terms of board games for first-year students, there's Isla de las Preposiciones, which is a pirate island to teach prepositions in French, Spanish, and German, and Petit Tour de Ville pour la Ciudad, going through a city. in terms of board games. Then A2, so like the end of first year, if they, progressed quite a bit through second year students, you've got bingo games, domino games, some of the ones we mentioned before, like domino de la journée, in terms of actions that you do every day and which actions precede other actions. Faisons la fête todos de fiesta. Card games. Now, I mentioned BIS was for first year beginning students. Super BIS are questions and answers. So you could hand out questions and answers to a group of students and give them like 2 minutes to find their match, find the question that matches the answer they've got. There are culture games. Pista suivre, sigue la pista in Spanish, are is a card game. How many clues do you have to hear before you can guess what it is? This to me is easily done remotely because the kids don't see it. Now, to make it easier for lower level, you can hand out a bunch of these picture cards ahead of time, and then whoever has the answer holds it up, as opposed to just saying out loud. ¿Quiénes veristas is like 20 questions in terms of you get cards with different people, and it's like who has glasses, who's blonde, who's female, in terms of guessing who the right person is. A newer one that they came out with in the past year is adjetivos y contrarios, adjective y contraire, Adjektive und ihre Gegenteile, as you might think in terms of teaching grammar and, other parts of speech. One of my favorites is questions y réponses, or preguntas y respuestas. You roll the dice, this cardboard die you put together, and you get a question word. Then you pick an object word, and you have to make a question with that question word and object word. Or maybe you have to answer it to make it a bit harder. For upper level students, you can make a question in the passé composé or the, subjuntivo. You can make it harder depending on the level, but I like the fact that this is one of the few games that's totally open-ended. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay, where was I? Question à la chaîne, or preguntas encadenadas, Kettenfragen. You've got a variety of different questions and answers, and it's up to the students to put themselves in the right order. So again, you can hand out the cards, give them 2 minutes, and they've got to put themselves so that the questions and answers are in the proper sequence, so they're making a whole conversation. Le grand jeu des verbes, gran juego de los verbos, gets into higher tenses of verbs. And then it's the game of verbs and nouns in Chinese. Board games, invento les phrases con tus palabras, for verbs. Petit tour de ville pour la ciudad. C'est mon métier. Es mi profesión. In terms of jobs and actual occupations, vocabulary they might not have gotten. But it's nice because then it involves actions in terms of knowing what a chef does, what a policeman does. And then Voyage en France, Viaje por España, Die Rundreise, and Traveling in China are answering questions, whether it's vocabulary or grammar, as you go through the country. So it's not just culture, but it's also grammar combined with that. And then the last level, the highest level, or the B1 games, you've got domino games, domino de la journée, el domino de cada día, das Tagesblatt domino, in terms of actual actions that you do throughout the day, not only understanding what they are, but putting them in order. In other words, you wouldn't brush your teeth before you get out of bed. And then, of course, Bananagrams, which can be done in a higher level. In terms of card games, a lot of the ones that I already said for level A2 would work just as well in B1. Question à la chaîne, adjectif et contraire, verbe. And then the board games, one that's really hard. Championnat de France, Campeonato en Español, Deutsche Meisterschaft, is like Trivial Pursuit, but in different languages. So you've got to not just be able to speak and know the grammar, but for these kids that you want to challenge them, this really tests their knowledge on a variety of subjects from that language, the countries where they speak that language. I want to say like Spanish-speaking countries, Italy, French-speaking countries, but sports, entertainment, geography, history, so a variety of topics. Le grand jeu de verbes, el gran juego de los verbos gets higher in terms of more verb tenses, more complex verbs. That's kind of it in terms of a rundown. I didn't want to talk the whole time in terms of just like lecturing y'all on games, but I wanted to open it at this point. I mean, this is a YouTube video, so in terms of YouTube, this is where it ends. But in terms of using this at the conference to see if you've got questions in the chat, or experiences you want to share, anything else as it relates to games. Again, the handout will be made available. And if you've got any questions, please, again, my name is Cindy Tracy. My email is polyglot, POLYGLOT, @WOR.com. Email me anytime. We also have online chat on our website, which is me. So sometimes I miss it when I go to sleep. I'm not going to fend it off to some call center somewhere where they don't know the products. Again, thank you for your time. Bye.